Welcome to the Ripple Effect Martial Arts Podcast.
Let's start off and say thank you so much to Laura and Pat. They are the spokespeople for their own families who take karate and also live next door to each other, right down the road from the karate studio. So really happy to have you. Thank you, Laura and Pat. And you ready to talk karate?
Sure.
Let's start out by who was first. I mean, was there a family that went to Ripple Effect Martial Arts and then another family followed, or did you do it together, or what happened?
It was me. So what happened was this was kind of when COVID started. I thought to myself, wow, what are they going to do for physical fitness? And what's going to cover the PE aspect of this? And I had looked at Ripple Effect before a couple times. I've noticed it. And, the couple times that I did notice it, it looked interesting. And, I've always kind of been a fan of martial arts. So, I decided, let's just bring them in at some point and let's just see what happens. And since that point, there's been no turning back. So they have grown to, absolutely love every aspect of Ripple Effect. It is a family to us. And it is also a culture and a way of life. There's so many good things about it that it's not a want, it's a necessity in our lives.
Pat, how about you?
When I heard that Laura had taken the girls over there, same situation with COVID, and I had decided to have my son Zach, it was his 5th grade year, rather than the possibility of going back and forth for school. I just signed him up for remote, so he did his whole 5th grade year remote here at home. Him and a Chromebook, and he'd sign in and do his stuff remotely for school. Once I'd heard that Laura was up there with the girls, I'm like, hey, that's really a good idea, because I had done a little bit of Taekwondo when I was in junior high school, very briefly for a couple months, and it was fun, but it wasn't anything I was really interested in at the time. But once I got Zach up there and just saw the culture and exactly what they were trying to do with the kids, the structure of it, as far as how the classes are conducted, how it starts, how it ends, and then the progression and the attainable goals that they set in, the short-term goals and the longer-term goals, and to be able to look at something and say, hey, in 4 years, there's something really significant that can happen as long as you show up twice a week. Geez, Zach and then Laura's girls they're this time next year, they'll be in their prep cycle for black belt, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you used the term crazy, because it does get a little crazy at that time. It just intensifies so much. So you said showing up twice a week at the karate school, but you probably have some discussions and practice at home in between. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, that'd be definitely very fair to say. And plus, both Zach and Rachel do junior instructor, so they are there a lot more than twice a week. Heck, when they're there on shift, they're there for 4 hours.
Yeah, it kind of builds, right?
I would say for Rachel, it's built upon other things that she already had. Rachel loves to mentor younger children. She is also a senior Girl Scout. And so she has a lot of experience with working with young children. For example, they do day camp every summer. She is one of the scouts that is a leader in day camp. In that regard with Ripple Effect, she is doing the same thing, but now she is a teacher. So it's taken it a step further, because she has to set the example. She has to be the example, which is something she's always been in scouts. But now she has the opportunity to teach new students, and then also how to use positive reinforcement to teach instead of negative, which is what Ripple Effect is about.
Here's what you're doing that works, and here's how you can do something differently so that it works better. That's super important. That's wonderful. Patrick, how about you?
So Zach doesn't really have that background that Rachel does. Zach is a younger brother. His older brother is 9 years older than him. So Zach has always been the little kid, and so it's really given him the opportunity to step up and show what he's got. It's given him a chance to be proud of what he's accomplished, and it's not something that he's done on the heels of his big brother. This is all his. I mean, it's been a lot of fun watching him develop and utilize the skills that he's learned through the training at Ripple Effect.
Yeah, I was a very self-conscious kid, I guess. And, martial arts black belt training, part of it is building a sense of confidence. Do you see that when it comes to the summer jobs or school or friends and things?
I would say, especially with friends, Zach's confidence as far as knowing that it's okay to say no, and it's okay to assert his boundaries and to say, you know what, I'm really not in the mood to be around all these kids. I want to be in my room doing something different, or I need to decompress from being around kids all the time. And he'll have kids come and show up at the door, and he'll be like, you know what, I'm really not in the mood to play today. And that's okay. It's totally okay.
That's a great observation. Laura, do you have any thoughts on that? Your kids in karate and what it allows them to do or say no to doing?
Absolutely. Especially with regard to the way school is right now. Our culture is, and not to get controversial, but our culture in the United States has changed quite a bit. And our kids are faced with an extremely harsh reality where they live with, they have to understand what social media is, and they have to understand with different types of bullying, whether it be physical or verbal. One thing that, I know that my daughter, both of them, they have both come into contact with other kids who have bullied them in one fashion or another. My older daughter, Rachel, she was assaulted this last year. She was assaulted across the face by another girl. My other daughter has had some verbal bullying that she's come into contact with. And Ripple Effect definitely has given them the confidence to deal with those situations in the best possible way. It wasn't like Cobra Kai or anything where they brought that into the school. They didn't. They both conducted themselves in very strong ways that protected them, and they got those skills from Ripple Effect.
Getting into this new school year, it's, we're in the midst of COVID. People have been out of school and it's all kind of coming together. But you hear these stories of bullying again, just from various parents. And I think the confidence that you gain through martial arts training and kind of being through sparring and everything kind of hit and moved in ways that you don't expect and all this stuff. And that exposure helps kids go, I'm a little bit used to this. So if some kid's poking a pencil in my neck or something from the backseat, well, I've got a way to turn around and deal with that, and not in a violent way, but just in a like, yeah, I've been annoyed before. Don't worry, dude. I've got it.
Mhm.
One thing I wanted to ask about. So you guys live real near each other. Your families are close. There's a really important thing about being close in families. There's this togetherness. There's also a need for space, I think. And Patrick, you got on that a little bit when you said that Zach can assert his need for space. And for both of you, the question kind of is, how has karate helped your kids be more independent or more, I guess, outspoken?
I guess for Zach, it would be more so that he knows he has the permission to assert his boundaries. If people are not respecting those boundaries, he knows he has more tools in his toolbox in order to make changes in the situation. He knows what he can do rather than just being stuck in a fear situation.
I think, I mean, Rachel definitely has trouble with confidence, but I think when she goes back and she realizes what she has done and, the things that she has overcome, it kind of makes her think, well, wait a second, I can do this, And as far as boundaries, she is very good with her boundaries. There have been times where she has been, I guess, outcast from another group of friends, and it doesn't bother her anymore. She doesn't let things bother her as much. And I think that's kind of another boundary for her where she knows and she realizes that she's got this. Emma this has given her a voice to speak up. And Emma's little. Emma is, she's not a junior instructor yet, but she's been in Ripple Effect for as long as Rachel. She's younger and she is little. She's tiny. She's short like I am. And it makes her feel taller, I think. And she carries that confidence very well. When she knows she's got it, she's got it.
That's awesome. I love your comment about it makes her feel taller. And,
It does.
There are comments, it can make you feel younger. It can make you feel older, wiser, and that's a great comment. How do you guys feel about sparring, or what's that experience been like for you and your kids?
Well, neither Laura and I have done any sparring yet. We are orange belts.
Okay.
So that has yet to take place. Now Zach, Rachel, and Emma. Rachel is a force to be reckoned with on the mat. Zach is learning how to be more assertive when he's sparring. He's more of a defensive sparrer, which definitely fits his personality.
I think Zach has some good finesse, though. I mean,
Yes.
Zach has a certain elegance to his sparring. He's very precise, I've noticed. Rachel is extremely powerful, but Zach is precise and I would dare to say elegant about it.
What about, the idea of it is kind of paradoxical, right? Because I only fight to defend my life and the lives, but now I'm going to practice fighting people for an hour. And what do you think that, I mean, you kind of alluded to it here, but what does that do? How does it enhance your kids' natural personalities?
Do you want to go first, Pat, or do you want me to?
No, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Well, as a parent, looking from the outside in, seeing your kid, do that. At first I was concerned because I'm like, oh my gosh, because I'm a nurse. I don't want them to hurt anybody and I don't want them to get hurt. However, it is so well controlled. If anything, actually, I think it will save their lives. As a nurse and as somebody who is also a runner and I know what can happen out there, for one, it provides them a sense of confidence. And two, it teaches them skills that no other sport can teach them. And skills that will carry with them for the rest of their lives.
I would absolutely agree. I would totally agree with you, Laura. The stuff that Zach has learned, other than he still has not learned how to block Rachel's reverse spin kick.
Spinning is illegal. She's not supposed to do that. She knows that. She's working on her control.
But I say that in jest, but the reality is the things that hit you in life are the stuff that you don't expect, and they're going to be a lot more powerful than you realize. And learning how to block those, in a very physical sense, as well as an emotional and a mental sense, is very, very vital for survival. I mean, whether they're at school, or they're at college, whether they're in the workforce, you got to know how to protect yourself. And it's not just learning how to take a hit. Things, well, I'll just say it. People are mean. That's just the way it is. You have to learn how to navigate through that.
Those are both really great assessments, because I always think of martial arts training, kind of the way that they did 1,000 years ago in Japan or something. Just it's a paradox. You're really training to make your body and mind so strong that you can't be hurt, but at the same time, you don't go about hurting other people. And
Mhm.
how does that work? But it does somehow. What do you guys anticipate after black belt?
I don't think it'll ever stop. I don't think so. It's a way of life. And it's become that way, not just, I mean, for my girls, they both want black belt. They're in it to win it. They're in it to stay. Rachel's talking about degrees of black belt. Emma is talking about, oh my gosh, I'm gonna leave my elementary slash middle school a black belt.
Right.
Emma knows that when she goes into high school, she will be a black belt. She has no intention of leaving. And she knows that they can continue this for as long as they want. But for them, it is a way of life. And it's become that way for myself and for Jeff as well. I know that. And I can't speak for you, Pat, but for me, the exercise is very good for me.
Oh,
As it is for
without a doubt,
yeah.
without a doubt of it. For going back to what you said something earlier about, being martial arts making you feel taller or younger or older or more mature or whatever. It's like yesterday I did gold belt and then I did orange belt after gold belt just because I just really needed to get out and sweat. And when you're out there on the mat, you feel good, you feel young. And
Mm-hmm.
then
I would agree.
couple hours later at night, you're like, oh man, I'm feeling a little stiff and a little old. But at the same time, if you stop moving, that's when you get old. You got to keep moving.
Yes.
And
And I can say that as a nurse. I've seen so many people on the floor I work on. I am a hospital nurse. I am a bedside acute care nurse. And I see people, you die when you stop moving.
mhm, exactly.
You die. And if you don't move, if you don't strengthen your bones, if you don't strengthen your muscles, your body doesn't like that.
Yep.
And that's the beginning of the end.
I mean, other than well, other than Miss Huff, I don't know if there's anybody else who's even close to my age there at Ripple Effect here in Johnstown. As Miss Huff and I graduated the same year at high school.
Oh
We
wow.
figured that out. We figured that out. So, and she obviously did all of her training when, we were both quite a bit younger. So thankfully I can still get out there and do that and do as much as I can without hurting myself. So,
But
Well,
as far as your original question,
mhm.
I don't foresee the girls knowing or thinking that this will ever stop. For as long as they want to continue with it, they will do it.
Awesome. On behalf of the old, and I'll avail myself of that category, and the young, thank you so much for talking about your experience at Ripple Effect in just with the martial arts and in life in general. I'm so glad that it's going so well for you. And uh, thank you so much for taking the time to talk tonight.
There's something else I have to say too. I'm also a photographer and I took pictures of Black Belt weekend. And out of everything I've ever taken with photography, I think that, and I stayed actually on that Saturday night. Well, into, I don't think I got home until 1 in the morning. And then I went back up again for Sunday, and I drove back up by myself on Sunday too. And I would say, I think that that is such an amazing experience to go through that it would change anybody's life to a point that it would if they knew what it was about, if they knew what it was really about. And it is truly what I saw in there was not just everybody, supporting each other. It was a family. And it was a family that was supporting each other and doing something so positive for themselves. And it's there's nothing like it that I've ever seen. And I've got some experience in the military. I was in the Air Force. Also with my daughter in Girl Scouts and my other daughter in gymnastics. There's nothing like it. It's worth every penny.
Thank you for listening to the Ripple Effect Martial Arts Podcast. Find episodes and more at rippleeffectmartialarts.com.